Christine Voss never asked for much. She only asked to belong. She grew up inside the Iron Vale pack the way a small plant grows between heavy stones. Not because the space was given to her, but because she refused to stop trying. Her mother had passed away when Christine was only 4 years old. Her father, who had once been the pack's beta, had become a quiet and hollow man after that. He sat by the window most evenings and said very little. He was present in the house, but not really there. So from a very young age, Christine learned how to take care of herself. She cooked her own meals, she washed her own clothes, she walked herself to training every morning before the sun had fully risen. And she trained alone because no one invited her to join the others. She was not weak. People assumed she was because she was quiet and small and had no one powerful standing beside her. But quiet and weak are not the same thing. Christine knew this even if the rest of the pack did not. She served the pack faithfully all her life. She helped the healers when wolves came back from patrol with injuries. She tracked the southern borders when the assigned scouts were sick. She prepared food for the winter storage and never once complained about the long hours. She did all of this not because anyone asked her, but because she believed that if she gave enough, she would eventually become someone the pack could not imagine being without. She was wrong. The blood ceremony happens every year when a newly risen alpha chooses his fated mate before the entire pack. It was one of the most important nights in pack tradition. The fire was lit in the center of the meeting ground. Everyone gathered in a wide circle. The alpha stepped forward and he spoke the name of the woman the moon had chosen for him. That year, the alpha was Michael. Michael was tall, broad-shouldered, and admired by nearly everyone in Iron Vale. He had golden hair and easy confidence and a smile that made people feel chosen simply by receiving it. Christine had never been close to him, but she had always watched him the way wolves sometimes feel drawn to something without understanding why. But now she understood why the moment he looked at her across the fire. She felt it before he spoke, a warm and quiet pulling thread through the center of her chest. The mate bond. She had heard about it her whole life. Everyone said it felt like recognizing someone you had never met. It felt like coming home. She barely had time to breathe before Michael spoke. I, Michael of Iron Vale, reject Christine Voss as my fated mate. His voice was calm, clear, and loud enough for every single wolf in the circle to hear. She is not worthy of this pack's legacy. The thread snapped. The pain was physical. It moved through her chest like something had been torn out by hand. She dropped to her knees on the ground, the fire blurred in front of her eyes. She could hear the silence of the crowd. Not gasps, not outrage, just a long and heavy quiet that was somehow worse than noise. Nobody moved toward her. Nobody spoke her name. She stayed on the ground for 10 full seconds. Then she stood up. She walked through the circle without looking at anyone. She kept her back straight and her face still because she would not give them the satisfaction of watching her fall apart. She walked to the small house at the edge of the pack grounds where she lived alone. She pulled out the worn canvas bag from beneath her bed. She packed a change of clothes, a small knife, a tin of dried herbs she used for healing, and nothing else. She walked to the border of Iron Vale territory. She crossed it. She did not look back. She cried when the trees finally surrounded her on all sides and there was no one left to see. She sat down at the base of a wide oak tree, pressed her back against the bark, and cried until there was nothing left in her. Then she wiped her face, picked up her bag, and kept moving. The first weeks were brutal. She had skills, but surviving alone in unclaimed land was different from living inside a pack. She slept in shallow caves and hollow tree trunks. She hunted small animals and rationed everything carefully. The severed bond ached constantly like a bruise deep in her chest that never fully faded. She did not allow herself to think about Iron Vale. She only allowed herself to think about the next hour, the next meal, the next safe place to rest. Slowly, she began to adapt. She found others like herself, lone wolves scattered across the unclaimed territories, surviving on the edges of a world that had decided they were not worth keeping. A young wolf named Eli was trembling from cold and hunger when she found him near a frozen stream. She built a fire and shared her food, and he looked at her with such gratitude that it reminded her what it felt like to matter to someone. She did not send him away. Then more followed. Not because she announced herself as a leader, she never did that. They followed because she was consistent and calm and honest. She told them the truth about what their situation was. She made plans that worked. She kept people alive. The leadership she was providing was not something she declared. It was something people decided she was doing. She met an old woman named Martha in the deep forest one spring morning, gathering plants as if she had been doing it for decades. Martha had once served as a healer in a powerful royal pack until a territorial war scattered them all and left her alone. She had knowledge that Christine had never been given access to advanced plant medicine, pack law, the histories of the great bloodlines, the territorial treaties that governed the regions between packs. Christine learned everything Martha was willing to teach. She studied in the evenings by firelight. She practiced the medicines until she could prepare them in the dark. She read the pack law documents Martha had carried for years until she understood them not just in words but in strategy. The gaps, the weaknesses, the leverage points. No one had ever offered her this kind of education inside Ironvale. Out here with nothing, she was learning more than she ever had. Her body changed too. Without the passive safety of a pack surrounding her, she worked harder than she had ever trained before. Every morning, without fail, her strength and her speed improved steadily over the months until she was a different kind of fighter than the one who had crossed the border with a canvas bag and tear-stained cheeks. 4 years passed this way. She stopped counting the days. She had a small group of wolves who traveled with her now. Each one a story of rejection or abandonment or exile. Together, they moved through the neutral corridors between packed territories, trading skills and services, staying mobile and staying free. She had not planned to return to Ironvale territory. She had put that place in a closed room inside herself and locked the door. But fate has its own directions. She heard about the Ashen Pack from a merchant wolf traveling through the neutral corridor, a rising force aggressively organized, dismantling smaller packs by breaking them from within. They found the wolves who felt overlooked and ignored, offered them power and position, then used them to destroy their own packs. By the time anyone realized what was happening, it was too late. 3 packs in the eastern region had already fallen. The Ashen Pack was moving west toward the northern territories, toward the corridor that dozens of packs, including small and vulnerable ones, depended on for trade and supply. Christine could not ignore it, but the feeling of rejection came back to her. The memories of serving faithfully and being discarded like trash caused her to hesitate. But she now had too many people who depended on that corridor to survive, depended on her leadership for survival. Let us know what you think about our story, and if you enjoy it, click subscribe so you'll receive notifications when a new audio from Alpha Love Stories Original gets uploaded. Now back to the story. She moved her group west, gathering information as they went. She mapped the Ashen Pack's movement patterns by talking to every traveling wolf she could find. She built a picture of their supply lines, their leadership structure, and their weaknesses. The Ashen Pack was powerful because they inspired fear, but fear, she had learned, was a fragile foundation. Packs built on loyalty were harder to break. Packs built on fear collapsed the moment someone stopped being afraid. She arrived at the edge of the corridor on a gray afternoon in late autumn and heard the fighting before she saw it. She moved toward the sound without hesitation. The clearing was a mess. 8 or 9 wolves in the dark gray markings of the Ashen Pack were pressing hard against a smaller group. 3 wolves holding a narrow pass between 2 large rock formations. 2 of the 3 were on the ground, injured but alive. The third was still standing. He was tall and dark-haired with a long wound across his left side that she could see even from a distance. He was fighting with the kind of focused, controlled precision that told her he had been in terrible situations before and had survived all of them through skill rather than luck. He was outnumbered and was still holding, but he would not hold for much longer. She made a quick decision. "With me," she said quietly to her group. They moved. The fight was over in minutes. Christine's wolves were trained well from her, and she coordinated them attacking from an angle the Ashen warriors had not expected. The attackers retreated into the trees. The clearing went quiet except for heavy breathing and the sound of wind through the branches above. Christine walked toward an injured man. He was looking at her with an expression she did not immediately understand. Not gratitude exactly, not surprise, something more fundamental than either of those things, like someone recognizing a person they knew from years ago. She knelt beside him and opened her kit. "This is deep," she said, examining the wound at his side. "You need to hold still." "Who are you?" he asked. His voice was low and even through the pain. "Someone who was nearby," she said. "Hold still." She cleaned the wound and packed it with the herb mixture Martha had taught her. Her hands were steady and certain. She had done this many times. She did not ask who he was because it did not change what needed to be done. It was only when his guard, two wolves who had appeared from the tree line recovering from their own injuries, spoke his name that she understood. "My king," one of them said, moving toward him quickly. She sat back. She looked at him more carefully. King Adam Donaldson of the Northern Realm, Alpha King over allied packs. She had read about him in Martha's documents. An effective and respected leader, not a ceremonial one. Someone who led from the front, which apparently explained why he was bleeding in a forest 3 territories from his command position. He was watching her. She felt something shift in the center of her chest. Not the sharp, fragile thread of years ago, something concrete and steadier than that. Something that felt less like being pulled toward someone and more like recognizing someone you had somehow already known. "You felt that?" he said quietly. "I felt something," she said carefully. "You are my fated mate," he said. He said it the way someone states a thing they are certain of, not the way someone makes a claim. She looked at him for a long moment. Then she said, "I know what it feels like when that bond is used as a reason to dismiss someone. So understand that the bond alone does not move me. What moves me is what I see. Tell me who you are beyond the title." He told her everything. Over the days that followed as they traveled together toward the northern summit where the allied packs were gathering to address the Ashen pack threat, he showed her who he was beyond the title. He asked questions and then actually listened to the answers. He watched how she led her wolves and said nothing but noticed everything. He did not try to take over or redirect her. He met her as an equal and waited to see if she would do the same. She did. Her analysis of the Ashen Pack's weaknesses she shared in the summit hall before the gathered leaders of packs silenced the room. She spoke plainly and with precision, laying out the supply lines, the internal fractures, the specific vulnerabilities that no general had seen because no general had spent years living in the neutral corridors they controlled. She offered solutions. She named alliances that could work. She mapped a strategy that was aggressive but sustainable. Michael of Iron Vale was in that room. He stood near the back. When Christine entered beside Alpha King Adam, he had gone pale and still in a way that told her everything she needed to know about his conscience. She only looked at him for a second. She had not come here for him. When she finished speaking, Adam stood and addressed the room. "This is Christine Voss," he said. "She will serve as my strategic counsel and, if she will accept it, as my queen." He turned and asked her directly, not announcing it, but asked. She said yes, not because of the title, because she had looked at this man for weeks now and seen someone worth standing beside. The Ashen Pack fell the following season. The coalition that supported it, built from lone wolves, exiled pack members, and overlooked wolves who had every reason to resist, built on domination, was Christine's. She knew those wolves. She knew what they needed to hear and who they needed to see leading because she had been one of them not long ago. After everything was finished, she wrote one letter to Iron Vale. It was short. It said that she did not want an apology. She only asked that Alpha Michael treat every low-ranking wolf in his pack as though they might one day be standing where she was standing because some of them would. She sealed it and sent it, and did not think about Iron Veil again. She had not been broken. She had been broken open. A closed vessel cannot be filled. A closed door cannot let in light. What had happened to her on the night of the blood ceremony had hurt her in ways she would carry forever. But it had also forced her out into the world alone, where she had discovered what she was made of when no one was watching, where she had built something real from nothing because she had no other choice. The moon goddess had not abandoned her. She had simply known that she needed to become herself first before she could stand beside someone worthy of who she was going to be. Thanks for listening. If we can do anything better, let us know in the comments and click subscribe so we can continue to offer audio stories from Alpha Love Stories Original.